Hi, my name is Kevin Fernandez and welcome to my channel, Gamers Genie. Today, we're going to learn how to play the storming survival game, Forbidden Sky. This 2 to 5 player game designed by Matt Leacock and published by GameRight. In this game, your ship that you have desperately put together in the desert has crashed up in the sky. So now you need to quickly get off this sky platform by building, charging, and powering, and loading into a rocket ship. Before everything falls apart, you have to go through dangerous winds, treacherous lightning, as well as other terrible hazards and environmental issues that will be coming your way. Will you be able to survive and escape with your life, or will you be going down with the ship? Find out as we go to the table and learn how to play Forbidden Sky. You can look at the 36 platform tiles to begin with to familiarize yourself with the different tiles that this game has to offer for starters. But then you just flip them all face down, mix them, and stack them to form the power platform draw pile. So what I'm going to actually do is, because these are so jumbly, I'm just going to cut them in half. And I'll cut them in half again. And I'll just kind of do the same thing here. And I'm just going to keep them in 2 separate piles. I'll put them, and the last one will be off camera, so I should move that down a bit. There we go. There we go. And that's the power platform drop pile. If this is your first time playing, you're going to need to assemble this this part. But once you've assembled it, you don't have to ever assemble it again. And to know that the arrow is secure, it should make a snapping sound. But you place the starting grid in the center of the play area. Put a lightning rod on the area indicated, right there. And from this point forward, you treat this as 4 separate sections and not just one tile, as I have done. Place the rocket launch pad near, as well as the other lightning rods, wires, and compactors, both large and small, near the board. We're just going to put those off camera for now. If this is the first time playing this game, there's a little tab that you can find over here in the side of the rocket. This is not my first time playing, so that's why I do not have that, but please make sure to remove that before starting to play this game. And you can actually see when I removed it in my unboxing video of Forbidden Sky. Then you take the red clip and you place it on the storm meter based off of the number of players. Because we're going to be playing a 2-player game, it's going to actually start right here. And I do want to point out that there is a nice little stand that you can place this on, but because this is a how to play video, I will keep it out of the stand and I will just kind of keep it right here, and we'll shift it around as we need it when the game progresses and everything. But for this setup instructions, I will place it right here for a visual effect. Next, you should make sure to separate all the cards from storm cards, and you can tell from this radar on the back, equipment cards, which you can tell from the gear, and player cards, because you can tell from the different names and everything. And last but not least, the double-sided blueprint cards. So we shuffle the storm deck, and I'll activate my Genie magic now. And we place it in a face-down stack, like so. Then we do the same thing with the equipment deck and activate now. There we go. That's the equipment deck. Then we select a blueprint for the corresponding difficulty. If you have never played any of the other previous Forbidden games or Forbidden Sky as a whole, I do consider doing the Novice, which is the one we're going to do. So what we're going to need is we will need the launch pad, we'll need a large compactor, 3 small compactors, and 3 lightning rods. And that'll all be off camera, as well as all the wires. And I will put these, actually I'll keep these kind of on camera, like right here a little bit, just so that way we have some sort of visual right there. Don't forget to place the blueprints that you are not using back into the box, as you will not be using them for the game. Little note, each blueprint shows an outline of the launch pad along with a different number of large compactors, small compactors, lightning rods, which you will have to wire into a circuit in order to win the game. But we're going to talk about that a little more later. You can shuffle and deal randomly the 6 cards to each player. However, because this is a 2-player game, and because it's the first time, I do recommend actually just selecting which one appeals to you the most. I will be the electrician, and Jordan will play as the knotsmith, because her favorite color is blue. You can then take the rest of the cards that you are not going to be using, you can place them back into the box. Once you have selected your card, you must take 2 of these little black selectors and place them on the top in both your health and your rope health. These will be very important as the game progresses. And again, you just take 2 more clips, place them here, and they look like that. Different cards will have different lengths of health and rope life, as you will see with different characters that you play as. Before you start the game, you should all take a moment to read what your character can do. So for example, my character, the electrician, can wire for free. So that would be a free action for just one time I do it. The second time will be an action, but we'll talk more about that later. And the knotsmith can repair a rope. That can also come in handy. If you lose any health or rope, you will be moving these down to indicate how much health you have of those. Finally, you take your corresponding pawns and you place them right here on the little landing pad. And then put all the rest of the characters back into the box, as you will not be using them, and hand 1 tile from the power platform to each player, and they will place it face up in front of them, because this is a cooperative game, it is not competitive. And that completes the setup. The player who last traveled by air gets to go first, and then play continues to the left. On every turn, do the following things in order. Number 1, take 1 of the 4 actions, and then number 2, draw and resolve storm cards. Also note that every single adventurer card has a quick reference guide on the back, so you can check that out. You may take up to 4 actions, but that doesn't mean you have to use all 4. You can use 1, 2, 3, 4, or even no actions at all if you so choose. Your teammates are allowed and encouraged to give you advice on the best actions to take during your turn. Select any combination of the following actions: move, scout, floor, and wire. First one is move. You may move your pawn to an adjacent space per action, either up, down, left, or right. But, a little warning, never diagonally. The surface of the platform must be connected across 2 tiles for you. So right now it's okay, but if I tried to go here, here, or anywhere else off the map, I wouldn't be able to move there. To move in this way, you cannot move across the sky. You must also move between teleport or tiles for 1 action. So this is a teleport tile right here. To scout, it's pretty simple. You just draw the top card tile from the tile stack and you place it directly in front of you. You may hold up to 3 tiles at any one time. If you already have 3 tiles, you may not perform the scout action. Then you can choose to do explore. You can then place the tile that you drew onto the board, continuing the map. If the tile has a lightning rod symbol, you immediately place a lightning rod on it. If the tile you place completes a circle filled, immediately place the component onto that tile. So this one has a small circle, and then if you complete this little green circle right there, you can then put a larger one on it. You may place a component even if you have already placed the number of components required in your chosen blueprint. However, once every component of a given type is used, you can no longer place any more of that type of a component. A little note that all part circles have printed copper wires on them in their borders. You may place a tile so that a part is connected with a plain wire on another tile. This counts for connecting wires. The component will remain incomplete though. Whenever you place a tile with a lightning rod symbol on the power platform, immediately add a lightning rod component. These components are all struck by lightning every time a lightning strikes. The card is drawn from the storm deck. Be careful how you place these. Any player on tiles connected to lightning rods by wires, both physically and printed, will be jolted when lightning strikes. When this symbol shows up, that is the teleporter. You may move between any two tiles containing teleporters for one action. When you explore a tile with this symbol on it, by placing a tile with a gear symbol on it, you discover a valuable piece of equipment that can help your team during the game. You immediately draw the top card from the equipment deck, and you can show it to everybody. Place it face up in front of you and read its instructions. Keep the card until you decide to use it. So the jetpack allows you to move to any tile on the platform. You may take another pawn with you to that tile. So this is important. Equipment cards may only be used by the player who possesses them. However, you may pass them for free at any time to another player on your tile. Most equipment can be played at any time, though as a general rule they cannot reverse the effects of the storm cards once they have been drawn. There is no hand limit for equipment cards. When you have a tile with this symbol on it, or you draw this card, you can be unaffected by high winds, this card right here. As long as a pawn is on the tile with that symbol on it, they are protected from any high wind cards that is drawn. The card I showed you is just temporary and will last up until the player who played the card's next turn starts. A little note, if your pawn is blown to the tile with that symbol during the storm phase, you are sheltered from future high winds as long as your pawn is on it. But if you're on it, it doesn't get blown away. If a tile is played with this symbol, that means a Faraday cage is in play. When a pawn is here and you draw the lightning strikes card, any pawns that are in the same space are not affected by lightning. A little note, if your pawn is blown into a tile with this symbol during the storm phase, you are protected from future lightning strikes as long as your pawn is on it. And that includes if you draw a lightning strike immediately after you draw high wind. You can add a physical wire to a circuit component attached to your tile so that it connects it to another circuit component. You may use either a short or you can use a long wire. So you can use a short one or you can use a long one. And there's the size comparison. As long as it reaches the other component, if the wire cannot spend both components without falling off, you may add them there. If the wire cannot span both components without falling off, you may not add it there. You may also perform this action to remove a wire from a circuit component on your tile. When you do this, return the wire to the supply. I do want to mention the only component that takes up an action is putting down a wire. However, if you have the electrician like I do, that can be a free action instead of costing you one action, but only for one time. Everything else though, placing lightning rods, reflectors, that doesn't cost an action at all. So Some important things you guys should know. Each component may have up to 2 wires connecting it. To complete the circuit, the launch pad must have 1 wire touching each metal side. Make sure that each wire makes a clear connection to the metal of the component. You do not have to wire a component if it is beyond the required minimum to complete your blueprint. To take off in the rocket, you must wire the launch pad into the circuit using the components. The blueprint shows the minimum number of each kind of component that must be used. You may use more. The components must be in a true series circuit, that is, they must be connected in a circle, starting with a wire connected to one side of the launch pad and ending with a wire connected to the opposite side of the launch pad. Watch out! As soon as the very last wire is placed, the rocket will launch. Be sure each pawn is on one of the 4 tiles holding the launch pad before you place the last wire, or the rocket will leave the adventurers behind and everyone will lose the game. In addition to the previously mentioned actions, you can also share equipment as long as you're on the same tile with other players and pass it back and forth at any time during the game for free, unless your adventurers otherwise may not ask the tiles for or share ropes or health. So if you lost a health and one of your partners didn't lose the health, you can't ask for more. Same thing with rope, and same thing with tiles. Those are no-nos. After taking your actions, you must now take the role of the lightning storm. Draw cards from the storm deck equal to the storm intensity level. Currently we're on 2. On the storm meter, reveal and resolve cards one at a time and discard them face up into a discard pile. Note, you may look through the discard pile at any time during the game. So we first have to do lightning strike, which means that because Jordan is on a space connected, she loses a health. And I also, actually, neither one of us lose a health because we're both on a space with a Faraday cage. So that one does not affect us in any way, but the high winds do. It will knock both of us off in the direction that the arrow is pointing. It's both pointing us forward. So that would be that. So if we drew another lightning strike, we'd be in trouble. So there are 6 lightning strike cards in the deck total. When you draw one of these cards, every lightning rod in play is struck by lightning, and every player on a lightning rod tile receives jolt of electricity and loses 1 health. In addition, the electricity from the lightning rod follows the wires, both printed and on the board that were placed physically, and the wires added by players that can trace a path to them, and everyone on a tile that is connected in this way is jolted and loses 1 health. You lower the clip on the health meter by 1. If the clip ever reaches the skull and crossbones symbol, that character has received too many jolts and is removed from the game, and everyone loses. A little note though, so there is some good news. Players never lose more than 1 health per lightning strike. So if you draw more than 1, you can get 2, but if you just draw 1, you don't get 2 zaps. The 2 winds change cards changes the direction of the wind based off of the direction that the arrows on the cards are showing. So if you draw this card, you have to turn it in the way that the green arrows are going. But if you draw this one, you have to turn it in the direction that the red arrows are going. And then the 4 high winds cards blow the adventurers on the tile in the direction of the arrow on the wind compass. If a pawn cannot move because there is no direction to go, so like Jordan would get blown off, they then would lose 1 rope by having their rope get more worn by 1 point instead. You lower the rope clip on the adventurer's card to the next lowest tick mark. If there is a tile in that direction but is only connected by clouds, aka the platform surface is not attached, the pawn does not move in the and the adventurer's rope loses 1 point instead. If a clip ever reaches the skull and crossbones symbol, the rope has snapped and that character falls 7,000 feet, and everyone loses the game. There are 3 Storm Intensifies cards in the Storm deck. When you draw a Storm Intensifies card, you move the clip on the Storm track up 1 tick. The numbers on the Storm meter show the storm's intensity. This is how many cards you will draw during the starting on the next player's turn. If the clip on the Storm meter ever reaches the skull and crossbones, all players lose the game. One of the Storm Intensifies cards, this one, instructs you to reshuffle cards from the draw deck and discard pile together and stack them to form a new deck. And no matter how many more cards you have to draw during that turn, you cease. You don't draw any more cards when you draw that card. Get to the launch pad. Once you have wired the required components into a circuit, except one final wire, you'll use that to take off. First, place the rocket into the launch pad, like I have done. Kind of try to scooch this up. Yeah, I can't. Then everyone should head to one of the 4 tiles containing the launch pad. You all don't have to be on the same tile as the final step. One player must add the last wire either on their turn or by a remote fuser to complete the circuit and launch the rocket to win. And then it'll light up and make noise and everything, and then all the players win. As I mentioned, over time, there are actually 4 possible ways of losing the game. The first one is you're electrocuted. If the clip on the player's health meter ever reaches the skull and crossbones, then that player is eliminated from the game, but all other players in the game lose. Another way is if the clip on the rope life ever reaches the skull and crossbones, that player has fallen off the platform and all players lose the game. Like stated previously, if the storm meter ever reaches the skull and crossbones, that means the storm is too intense to work on and they all lose the game. And last but not least, if the rocket takes off and one of the players is not there yet, then even though you successfully wired everything and made sure everything was all in its proper place, you still lose the game because you abandoned one of your crewmates behind to parts unknown. That being said, once you've won the novice game, try normal, elite, or even legendary difficult settings. We will play this on the novice version when we do our gameplay video on this, so don't worry. But to just let you know, each one presents it with a little more challenging because they add more components and you have to use more to try to win this. It will also change up the game a bit. And don't forget, try mixing it up with the other adventurer cards that come with this game as well. It's always nice to try out something new. That's all you need to know to play Forbidden Sky. If you have any questions about this game, please put them down in the comments below and I'll get to them as soon as I possibly can. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and ring the notification bell to be notified for videos just like this. And if you're a big fan of the channel as a whole, consider becoming a Patreon supporter on our Patreon page. It can give you early access to how to play videos just like this, and all you need is $1. It'll only cost you $1 a month. I'd like to thank our current Patreon supporters. Your donations mean a lot to this. And if you are currently watching this on our Patreon page, thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to show off your fandom, consider going to our Etsy shop where we have all sorts of really neat t-shirts. I'll leave a link to both of those in the description below. Be on the lookout for our gameplay video on Forbidden Sky. But until then, thanks for the views.